Hey guys, it's Ty and welcome back to my channel. So today is a very exciting day because this is the first video in my end of year video series that I do every year for my channel. So we are going to be talking about all of the books that I have DNF'd in 2025. Next week, you guys should be looking for my most surprising reads of 2025. And then the week after that, I will be talking about my best and worst books of 2025. So like I said, today we're going to be talking about all of the books that I have DNF'd this year in 2025. So as of when I'm filming this, I have read about 122 books, I believe, and 18 of those I have DNF'd. Now, I know a lot of people feel very strongly about DNFing books. Some people don't like to DNF. Some people live by DNFing. Me, I will DNF a book really quickly, especially if it is not pulling me in quick enough. So I prefer to DNF a book and not suffer through it than suffer through a book and then potentially rate it badly and leave an author a bad review. I would just rather just jump ship and keep it moving. So what I'm going to do today is just start with the books I DNF'd at the beginning of the year and work my way all the way down to the books I just DNF'd in my last recent reads. I'm crossing my fingers that these are going to be all of the books that I actually DNF for this year. Now, I'm not going to say everything that I'm reading right now I'm loving, but I don't feel like I will probably DNF anything for the rest of the year, so I think we're safe. So I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about what the book is about because honestly, when I DNF something, it just goes out of my head. I can barely remember why I did not finish the book. So I will just tell you what the book is. I will tell you how far I was able to get into the book and maybe some quick points about what made me DNF it. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. So the first book that I unfortunately had to DNF this year, that is The Whisper Man by Alex North. I know a lot of people have really enjoyed this one. It has really good reviews on Goodreads, but I was only able to get 39% of the way through before I put this down. So it's a mystery thriller. It's about a serial killer that would whisper through their victim's window. And I attempted to listen to this on audio, and I truly believe it was the audio narrator that really turned me off from this book because I did not like the person that was narrating the story at all. I also felt like not a lot was happening in 39%, and there was nothing about the story that was really keeping my attention. And I just remember that anytime I went to go listen to this book, I really didn't want to. So I had to put it down. The next book that I DNF'd, which really hurt my feelings, was All Better Now by Neil Shusterman. This is I think it was like a young adult dystopian. And I was actually able to make it 40% of the way through this one before I put it down. And I honestly only made it that far because I received an ARC. And let me just say this now, anytime I receive ARCs, I really try hard not to DNF those. If I feel like I'm going to DNF them, I at least want to get far enough into the book to really justify why I could not finish it. But this story had the one thing in it that I love in stories, and it was all about a virus. It was about a virus that people catch that would essentially make them content and happy with their life. I liked learning about the virus. I liked learning about the effects that it had on people, but that was it. We followed a few different characters. None of the characters I actually connected with. The plot was all over the place. There were so many different things going on. And at the point that I decided to put the book down, none of those plot points ever connected. And so I just kind of got tired with it, and nothing about it outside of the virus was keeping my attention. So I just could not finish this one. Another arc that I received that I DNF'd is The 10 Worst People in New York by Matthew Plass. This is another one that I really tried hard to get into. Because I received an arc of it, I was able to get 49% of the way, but by gosh, I was so bored with this story. So basically it's a mystery, and there was like this list that was made. I think a TV show like produced this list that had the 10 worst people in New York on it, and then people from that list slowly started to die, but they were like interconnected in some way. It was so boring. It was so boring. And there was like this side plot that we were following with two of the characters that I just, for the life of me, could not figure out what the point of that was. I'm sure it probably tied into the central plot, but I could not get into the story. Next up, we have Cold Eternity by S.A. Barnes. I was only able to get 10% of the way into this one before I put it down. This was another arc that I received. Now, I honestly did not try that hard to get that far into this one because it was, by God, I was so bored. You probably would hear me say that about a lot of these books that I DNF, but this was so boring. I don't honestly even remember what this book was about. All I remember is that it is a sci-fi horror, and we were following this lady. I don't know why we were following her. I don't know what was going on, and to be fair, I guess I wouldn't know what was going on because I only got 10% of the way. But in order for me to even get past 10% in a story, something about it has to catch my attention or intrigue me a little bit. But this did not do it. I was really excited to read this one because this author had another book that came out, and I can't remember what the title of that book was, but it's a pretty popular title, and a lot of people really enjoyed that book. I no longer want to read that book after I read this one, because if this was anything like what we were going to get in the book that I wanted to read, I don't think I'm going to like that one either. I will leave the title of that book on the screen because I'm pretty sure if you guys have heard of this author, then you probably know which book I'm talking about. But yeah, I just couldn't get into this. Another one that I was really disappointed with, and one that I really thought was going to be like a new favorite for this year, that is Wake Up and Open Your Eyes by Clay McLeod Chapman. I got 51% of the way into this one. This is another one where I thought I was gonna love it because I knew that it had to do a lot with like social media, and there's like a commentary on how people rely heavily on like the news media, social media, and how that basically can affect your everyday life. There's also an epidemic that's happening in this story as well. The first half of the story, I was hooked, I was sat, I was seated, I was ready to get into this. Some wild things happened in that first half, or the first part of the story. But then we moved to the second part. The pacing slowed down tremendously. I felt like it started to get really, really repetitive. And I like commentary in my stories, I really do. But what I don't like in my stories is when I feel like we are being beaten over the head with the commentary, and it is so clear about what you are trying to say, that to me, it kind of gets a little annoying. And I like my commentary to be a little bit more subtle. I kind of want to put like pieces together myself. I don't need you to like preach to me about what you're trying to say. And I felt like once we got to the second half of the book, that is what this author was trying to do, and that is not what I was in the mood for, so I put this one down. The next book that I unfortunately had to put down, it is Listen to Your Sister by Nina, I think her last name is pronounced Vielle. This is a speculative horror, and this is a book that I was actually sent a copy from the author, and I sadly DNF'd this one at 21%. So we're following this girl who has been left with caring for her two younger brothers. One of her brothers gets involved in an incident at a protest, and now they're trying to like figure that whole situation out. Honestly, this one was a little slow moving for me. It was too slow, and I just could not get into it. So we follow the main girl's perspective, and then we follow the brother's perspective. I don't even remember, but one of those POVs I did not care for. Anytime we were in that POV, I didn't want to be. I think this book is one of the ones that have been like a hit or miss with some people. So it was definitely a miss for me, so I just had to put it down. The next one that I only got 30% of the way in was Creep by Emma Van Straten. And this one is one that was not on my radar at all this year. I ended up seeing a free copy over at Libro FM for their influencer program. So I decided to try and listen to it, and woof, I did not like it. So this one is basically following this woman who becomes obsessed with the guy that she is being a housekeeper for. She starts like going through all of his stuff, all of his social media, his mail, going through all the stuff that she's technically supposed to be cleaning. And in the beginning, I was like, yes, sign me up for this. This is the type of mess that I want. But it just got so boring because we were only in her head. We were only hearing her thoughts and just going through her day to day as she is being obsessed with this man. Honestly, I didn't even know after 30%, like, why she was so obsessed with him. Like, what has attracted her to him? Like, what about it is making her do all these strange things? So I put this one down as well. The next one that I DNF'd is Hide by Kirsten White. I actually made it 55% of the way into this one. And this one is kind of funny because I have seen a lot of reviews about this book and none of them have been good. So I don't know what I thought was gonna happen when I picked it up. So this one is, I think it's an adult like horror thriller. And one of my main problems with this and why I decided to put it down is because it felt like young adult. If these characters read so young, but basically these people have decided to sign up for this hide and seek game at an amusement park. That's all I remember. And I know there's like something is killing these people. Something is seeking them out. And another thing that really bothered me about this book that can be a hit or miss with books is that at a certain point in the story, we find out what is actually happening to them at this amusement park. And now we are waiting for the characters to catch up. Sometimes that works for me, sometimes it doesn't. In this case, it did not work for me. And we follow lots of characters and none of them were interesting to me, none of them. So I should have listened to everybody else and not picked this one up. This next one, I literally almost died when I decided to DNF this book. This is The Republic of Thieves by Scott Lynch. I made it 75% of the way in before I put this down. And this one saddens me because I loved the first book. So this is the third book in the Gentleman Bastard series. The first one is The Lies of Locke Lamora. Loved that story, loved the characters. The year that I read it, it was in my top books of that year. I got to the second book and I believe I rated that second book 3 stars. It was fine. And this one, I just could not get into it, even after 75% of the way in. So just a quick recap. We are following these two guys that are part of the Gentleman Bastards. They basically go around and they steal things from people. They get into these situations where they're trying to get money from people and the situations are nuts and they have to figure out a way through. A lot of the stories in both of the books, well, in all 3 of the books, we get these interludes where we're getting backstories about the situations that they're in. In this particular book, the one that I DNF'd, I did not care about the interludes. And in the other books, the interludes were my favorite parts. In this one, I just did not care for the characters as much as I wanted to. So in the first 2 books, we kept hearing about this particular character. A certain character kept coming up, but they were never actually in the story. The third book I was super excited about because that character we finally got to see them and I did not like them. I did not like that character at all. And I was so disappointed that this is what we got. I also felt like the schemes that they were involved in were just not as entertaining as they were in the other 2 books. And I just could not force myself to finish the last 25% of this book. I think there's supposed to be another book in the series. I don't think that I'm going to read it, but I will stand by that the first book in the series, The Lies of Locke Lamora, is so good. I think the rest of the series will probably be a hit or miss, or maybe that's just how I felt about it. But yeah, I just could not push through this last one. Another arc that we have here that I just could not force myself to read is the October Film Hunt by Michael W. Hunt. I only made it 11% of the way in. This is a adult horror, and this one is just following this woman who used to be a part of this film group that went to different filming locations for horror movies. She wrote a blog about it. Now, years later, she receives this strange VHS tape about a particular scene from a filming location that she was at, and I think somebody might have died. This was boring. that's really all that I can say about this one because I only made it 11% in, but it was so boring. We got like some of her blog entries. We got like transcripts of this video that she was sent, but none of it kept my attention, so I put it down. The next one that I DNF'd, I know some people might not agree with me on this one, but I DNF'd Quicksilver by Callie Hart. I made it 41% of the way in, and 41% of the way in was over 200 pages. This is I think it's a adult romantasy, fantasy romance. I think it's more romantasy. Don't quote me on that. But I was so pumped and excited to read this one because everyone had been hyping this book up. So I needed to have my hands on it. In the beginning, I was really interested in it. It really grabbed my attention. By the 200 page mark, it was really slow for me. Not a lot was really happening. We kind of started getting some romantic tension between the main characters, but outside of that, nothing happened. The only reason I even continued to read after 200 pages is because when I saw some people's reviews, they were like, they couldn't get into it in the beginning, but once they got past 200 pages, it got better. I want to say I actually made it to like 250 pages and it still wasn't getting better to me, so I put it down. Now, at first, I thought I was really missing out by not being able to finish this book. However, the second book in the series has been released and I have not been hearing good things about it, so I don't feel like I really missed out much. Another book that I DNF'd that I also just kind of found a little boring was Wilder Girls by Rory Power. I got 29% of the way in. This is a young adult dystopian. It also revolves around a virus. I just thought I was really gonna enjoy this one. So this one involves a virus. And these girls are like at this school on like this island, and they don't really know what's going on the mainland, but they do know that I guess the world was like affected by this virus. There's certain things that happens to these people. They have flare-ups on their like face or body parts. Something happens to them, and yeah, somebody goes missing, and that's like the story. Again, it was just really boring. I did like that virus aspect of it. So anytime we talked about like the virus and the effects it had on people, I was here for that. Outside of that, I didn't really care for any of the characters. It is a queer story, I think, or it was leading in that direction by the time that I DNF'd it. But for some reason, I don't know, it just didn't hold my attention. This is another one that I was attempting to listen to on audio, and anytime I went to go listen to it, I didn't want to. So I stopped. Next up, we have You Are Fatally Invited by Andy Pliego. I only got 18% of the way into this one. This is a adult mystery. It is about some authors that go to some secluded house that they were invited to by another famous author, and they have to solve like some riddles or something. And I think they were invited there as like a revenge plot by somebody else. This is another one that I knew I probably should not have picked up because one of my friends said they didn't like it, and they were like, I don't think you're gonna like it. But no, I had to see for myself, and I did not like it. I did not care for any of the characters. The part that I was able to get through, I was not connecting to any of the characters. We got some backstory on some of them and why they like agreed to participate in this situation. But none of them I really cared for. The writing, I'm not one to really comment on people's like writing styles. I'm a simple girl. I just tell me the story. I'm not here to like really critique anybody's writing. However, in this one, the writing just felt really choppy. It just kind of felt like there weren't really smooth transitions from like scene to scene, because when I was listening to it, another one that I attempted to listen to on audio, when I was listening to it, it just felt like at certain points that I was missing things, and like I would have to like rewind because it just felt like a chunk of something was missing, and that wasn't the case. So yeah, I put this one down. Next up, we have The Lake Escape by Jamie Day. This is another one where I got 50% of the way in, and this was an arc I received, so that is part of the reason why I really tried to push through this one. This is a adult mystery. I was really looking forward to this one because I have seen quite a few of this author's books going around. They seemed interesting, so when I got approved for an arc, I was like, I guess we'll start here. So this is basically about this group of friends. They're older, they go to the lake every year with their families. They end up going this year, and one of the people that went, the guy, his girlfriend ends up going missing. The thing that is so mysterious about this is because like years before somebody else went missing, and the years before that somebody else went missing. And yeah, the first part of this book was a little annoying because one of the characters, so it was two women, their families, and then their guy friend. And so the guy, I guess, had rebuilt his house, and it was all glass, and it was like blocking the view of one of the women. And she was so upset by that. Like, she was so upset that she didn't have the clear view to the lake like she used to have. Like, she had to look through his windows in order to see the lake. She talked about that so much. Like, we heard about that so much. And the only reason why she stopped talking about it is because the other people that were at the lake, they didn't have a problem with it, and finally she shut up about it. Then we got the POV of the guy's babysitter that went to this vacation with him, and there's like this mysterious reason for why she wanted to go, and at 50% of the way in, we still don't know why she's there. So I just did not care about anything that was happening in this story, and again, I put it down. Well, next up we have Kill Your Darlings by Peter Swanson. I only made it 31% of the way in. This is a adult mystery, and I, for the love of God, do not know why I keep picking up this man's books, because I have not enjoyed any of them that I have read. One of them I read and only rated 1 star. Another book I read of theirs, I gave 2 stars. This one just had a really interesting premise because we're following this married couple. At the beginning of the book, we see a situation that happens between the couple, and then the story is like told in reverse. So then we're going backwards in the timeline to what led up to the event that we got in the beginning. I had heard mixed things about this one, but because the premise sounded so good and because the way the story was being told sounded interesting, I wanted to give it a try. I was bored to death. I did not care about this man, this woman. The conversations that they were having were so boring. Like, I could understand why what happened, but I don't think I needed a whole book about it. I think it probably would have worked better as like a short story, not a novel. But yeah, I'm not sure if I'm going to try anything else by Peter Swanson. The next book that I unfortunately had to put down is A Murder for Miss Hortense by Mel Pennant. This is a adult mystery. I think it's supposed to lean more on the cozy mystery side, but I DNF'd this one at 10%. In 10%, a lot happened. We were following a lot of characters. I could not keep them straight at certain points. We were also flip-flopping back in timelines. That was kind of hard to keep straight as well. Also, these characters were Jamaican, but they lived in London, and the like dialect that they were using to speak in was also kind of hard to read. I have heard that dialect like spoken in like real time, but reading it was a little hard, and that kind of kept taking me out of the story. So I really tried with this one as well because I received a copy from the author, but I just could not force myself to finish it. These last 2 books that I have DNF'd, I recently talked about them in my previous recent reads. The first one is The Possession of Alba Diaz by Isabel Cañas. I only made it 23% of the way in. This is a historical horror book. I was really excited about this one because it dealt with a demon possession, and the story moved so slow. It moved so slow for a demon possession. I did not care about the characters. All they talked about, I think it took place in like the 1700s, I think, maybe 1800s, but all they talked about was Mercury and how much they wanted to get Mercury, and I did not care about that. I just wanted somebody to hurry up and get possessed so we can move on with this story. Ultimately, I was just bored. I didn't care about anything that was happening, and it wasn't getting to the scary bits fast enough for me. So I was kind of hesitant going into this one because for this author, I really liked their first book, The Hacienda. Their second book, The Vampires of El Norte, did not work for me, so I wasn't really sure where I was gonna land with this one. I actually still have this book, so I'm thinking maybe I just wasn't in the mood for it. I think I'm gonna keep it around for a little bit to see if maybe I'll be in the mood for it later. I doubt it, but we'll see. And the last book that I DNF'd for 2025 is The Raven Scholar by Antonia Hodgson. This is a adult fantasy. I made it 35% of the way in, and 35% of the way in, that book was well over 200 pages. Oh, the prologue was really interesting. The world building was interesting, and how the world was set up into like different factions. I was interested in this book because it involved trials. I am a sucker for a trial, but these trials, I made it through 2 of them. They just felt so low stakes. There was also like a murder mystery that was a part of this, but I kind of felt like that took a backseat to what else was happening in the story, and I just did not connect with our main character that we were following. I was really looking forward to this one because I've had a couple of people recommend it to me. I have seen nothing but glowing reviews for this story, but for me, I was just bored out of my mind, and it took me a long time to get even 200 pages into the story, but I ultimately had to put it down. Those are all of the books that I have DNF'd in 2025. Please let me know down in the comments if you think maybe I should give any of these books another chance. I can't promise that I will, but I'm curious to know what you think. Also, please tell me any books that you were surprised you actually DNF'd this year. But that is all that I have for you guys. Please be on the lookout for my other end of the year videos. The next one you guys will see will be next week, which is my most surprising reads of 2025. But I will see you guys next time. Bye.